right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies inspired it. And today on the show, we have got a weird one for you. More of a gross one for you, I guess, more than anything, but an awesome one. We're going to be talking about The Substance. I have been looking forward to covering this one for a while now, and it is time to do that. Joining me is Tara Giancaspro, returning to the show. We got into a lot of great puzzle pieces with this one, and honestly, I feel like a lot of people talking about this movie are talking about it in terms of like what were the influences, what inspired this crazy ass movie. And so I feel like a lot of people are kind of doing the puzzle pieces format here. And so I'm seeing a lot of pieces out there in the open. So this more than ever, I would love to hear your puzzle pieces. If you think of any that we don't bring up in this conversation, please send them in. I always read listener puzzle pieces on the next trailers episode, and I would love to read yours on the next one. So make sure to send those in. You can follow me on social media at PiecingPod. That's where you can contact me. There's also a contact form on piecingpod.com. You can also join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. And before we get to the conversation, just want to remind you, as always, to make sure you are subscribed because we got a lot of episodes on the way and a lot of special stuff on the way too that I'll be announcing any day now. But with that said, let's get into The Substance. Tara Giancaspro's with us to talk about The Substance. How's it going, Tara?
Hello, it is going gross. That's how it's going.
Yeah, lots of yuckiness and lots of
Spooky and
goopiness
goopy, yeah.
yeah. Lots of gross stuff happening here, but
Disgusting.
yes, absolutely, and we love it, don't we?
Yeah, I did actually.
Yeah, I know. I'm so excited to talk about this one. I think that we're going to get into a lot of great stuff here. Before we get into it, I just want to kind of figure out when did you first hear about this? Because I kind of went into it just hearing some raves, but like not really knowing what it was going to be, and it just kind of just took me by surprise, I think.
Let's see. I think I heard about it before it came out. I definitely didn't hear about it after it came out. I had an accidental mini Margaret Qualley marathon, a Margaret-thon, if you will.
Sure.
So I think I was just looking up, hey, what's she doing? And I think Demi Moore is just wonderful. So when I
Oh,
found out
sure.
she had a new movie out that felt experimental and it wasn't some kind of Lifetime schlock that was beneath her, I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, absolutely, I have to go see this."
Yeah,
Everything I
absolutely.
heard was good, though. Nobody that was tweeting about it, posting about it, talking to me about it ahead of time said it was bad. They were all like, "This is incredible. You have to go
Yeah.
see this." So I
Yeah, I
did.
feel like this is, we're recording this. This movie's already been out for a few weeks at the time that we're recording this. And I feel like this is definitely like the indie hit of this year right now. I mean, it's a movie that everyone keeps talking about. It's got awards buzz around it. And it's, generally a pretty small movie. So the fact that it's gone as huge as it has is incredibly impressive and just says a lot about everyone involved. But, I think we'll get into a lot of that as we're going through this.
Oh,
We
yeah.
should just start jumping in because I got a bunch to talk about. But let's start getting
Okay.
into some puzzle pieces. What do you got first?
All right. So the first one, because there's one obvious, and I'm going to save that. I'll probably let you take that one.
Okay.
My first, which to me was the most prominent throughout, was the Neon Demon,
Okay.
Nicholas Winding Refn's Neon Demon. Everything from your 80s beautiful color palette, although Neon Demon kind of thrived more in cool tones, and this movie really went for hot tones, citrus
Sure.
hues. Um, Eyeballs where they don't belong,
Mm,
um, copious gore. Neon Demon is not that gory, but it really does focus on the body. This movie obviously is far more body horror than Neon Demon, but it's
sure.
also that pressure to be beautiful at all costs and other people who are devastatingly beautiful not thinking that they're beautiful enough, which
Sure.
happens in Neon Demon.
Yeah.
And your sort of predatory industry figures
Hmm.
overlap as well. You have that in Jenna Malone's excellent, like, predatory lesbian character, and I don't say that saying that all lesbians are predatory. I'm talking about the like predatory queer trope of pulp novels and
Sure.
Daphne du Maurier books. Like I always think of the kind of wacky dude from Rebecca. Rebecca's like brother that seems kind of incestuous. Actually, when I went to see Neon Demon, there was a panel after, and I asked Nicholas Winding Refn if the predatory queer characters were inspired by anything. And he was like, nope, just came up with it myself. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh,
Just seemed like a fun character to get
you
into.
dick,
Yeah.
that's not helpful. I know you lifted this from somewhere. Patricia
Uh-huh.
Highsmith would like a word. But yeah,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
did feel some of those same components in the substance. And
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
think those would be great double feature movies in conversation with each other.
Oh, absolutely. And, I think just to get into that director, I think it's an interesting kind of counterpoint, this being a female director, to kind of tell this kind of a story, with Nicholas Winding Refn being this dude who is just like, well, I got a cool idea for a movie. And of course, it deals with these very heavy themes that are, very female in the story that's being told. You kind of get a much different point of view when, it's actually pretty much all women all around involved in the making of the substance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was as woman coded as it possibly could be. I do think that the director did a pretty good job of universalizing the story.
Hmm.
You could have made this movie Mark Wahlberg playing a male model and exercise guru who pooped out, I don't know, Miles Teller. You could have made that movie and you wouldn't have had to change too much. It hits differently because it's women. But
Yeah,
I recently just watched Woman of the Hour, Anna Kendrick's movie, and I
sure.
feel that that was extremely woman coded in
Mm,
that it so inextricably came from the perspective of a woman director. This movie, I feel like, hit from a universal angle, but women watching it might internalize more from the viewing experience.
sure, sure, absolutely. I will go for my first piece. This may be the one you were hinting at that might be on both of our lists. I'm not sure, but I'm just going to go for it. And that's Death Becomes Her.
Yes,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah. It's just
That's the one.
it's so much fun. And as far as kind of poking fun at aging celebrities who, they get this chance for this mysterious new drug and it's going to give them everything they ever wanted. And then, of course, it goes horribly wrong. Death Becomes Her much lighter, much just sillier and goofier, although the substance is funny. But, definitely just a straight up goof. Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn just absolutely killing it in their roles in Death Becomes Her. This is also mainly a two-hander, except for they're playing, different versions of the same person in this case with the
Yes.
substance. But both movies that deal with that, and kind of just to go right back to what we were just talking about with like, the male versus female perspective. I mean, either way, these are women poking fun at just how over the top, a woman's story could be like this. And I think the substance does a great job of that, while also, making the male characters completely ridiculous too. Dennis Quaid in this movie is just so freaking disgusting. And if you go back to Death Becomes Her, Bruce Willis, I hadn't watched it in years. I just rewatched it last year. He is a maniac in that movie, and it's so much fun.
Yeah. I Dennis Quaid, I mean, maybe this is the opportunity to talk about it. Nothing is more disgusting in this movie than Dennis Quaid eating those fucking prawns.
Oh my god, it's so horrible.
The mouth, like, we're to believe that these women come out of each other, or one comes out of the other. Less disgusting for me to witness Demi Moore butt pooping Margaret Qualley
Sure.
than to watch Dennis Quaid's Reagan-esque Republican Trump endorsing puckered mouth
Yeah.
spewing shellfish guts. I'm not even allergic to
By the way,
shellfish.
it came out the week after his Reagan movie, so it's
Which
just
is
very,
crazy because he's so fucking good in this,
yeah, yeah.
and all I could think of watching this movie was, "Oh my god, he has to play Vince McMahon someday.
Oh
He
hell
has to
yeah,
do it.
yeah.
He will win an Oscar. It will be perfect if you get the right director to do a sort of satirical, maybe like Oliver Stone's W, kind of just
Mm,
something interesting there. Oh my God, he would be fucking perfect because he's
yeah.
incredible in this movie, but then he did Reagan schlock, which is the kind of shit I want Demi more. Like, Demi, get behind me. I will never let you be in a Kevin Sorbo movie.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. No, but the fish were the grossest thing. I
Oh
don't know if
God.
I can. I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but I'm gonna say it, and I hope he
Mm,
forgives me.
mm.
The person I went to see this movie with vomited after the movie, and that should tell you, anyone who's listening to this who has not seen the movie yet, my grown ass date vomited and would not let me drive him home because he did not want me to see him vomit at this early stage of our courtship,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is respectable and very sweet because I did not want like Nighthawk cheeseburger vomit in my car. But that is how disgusting Dennis Quaid and those fucking fish are.
Yeah. Thank you for describing exactly what the meal was, by the way. But
Oh no, it's worse. Wait, it's worse. I had the burger. He had salmon avocado toast.
Ugh.
No wonder the fish, no wonder the shellfish triggered some shit. I am
Oh,
so sorry to this man. He's gonna dump me over this. It's fine. It's fine.
so
It's okay.
disgusting.
It's okay.
Well, real quick before we go on to your next piece, we're talking about just how disgusting that is, and I think the idea of awards consideration for this movie, it's something everybody's talking about. Give it sound design for that scene because, oh my god,
Oh,
just give it
the
sound design
wet
awards.
noises. What a day for that Foley person.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
Foley person just like slapping shrimp together in a
yeah.
dark black room.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like giving Brian De Palma's Blowout, but worse.
Yeah.
Worse than what happens to John Travolta in
Yeah.
Blowout.
Yeah. Yeah. The grody
Horrific.
version of that.
Would not wish on my worst enemy. No.
Love it. Love it. What do you got for your next piece?
My next one is Akira.
Okay.
Because there one specific reason. So, I was, like, basically a film studies minor at my college. I took enough credits, but they didn't have an official minor. But I'm
Mm,
saying it because I paid $38,000 a year to go to that fucking school, and that included an academic scholarship, thank you. Uh,
mhm.
so I watched in my Asian film studies class, Akira, and for the last, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, I sat there with my fingers, like, ever so lightly slitted, and I'm just watching in visceral horror at that fucking tumor baby rolling throughout
Mm,
the city, making a mess everywhere he fucking went. But I'm sitting there and I'm like, every part of my body wanted to vomit,
mhm.
even where I didn't have an orifice to vomit. Like, I much like
Yeah.
Monstro Eliza Sue, I was like, I'm
Uh-huh.
just gonna have like an open little ooze hole in my elbow so I can vomit out of my elbow. That was the most visceral upset I have ever experienced watching a movie until I sat in the front row of the Nighthawk Cinema and
Mhm.
watched because we had front row seats. So my neck is craned like this. I am watching the final like reverse carry on prom night situation that
Sure,
happens.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, mm-mm, nope. Like a light heave. I'm sitting there, I'm like, there's still blood flow.
Yeah.
There's more.
It's not
Oh,
stopping.
it's going. She's going
Yeah.
for a Guinness record. Oh my god. Ah, like screaming, like basically having a fear and revulsion orgasm of just me like cresting revulsion at the
Uh-huh.
screen and what
Yeah.
I'm witnessing from the front row, mind you.
Mm. Yeah,
And
that's a lot, and especially the effects
yeah.
on display and that just kind of
Oh
enveloping
god.
your vision and you can't get away.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
even up to when poor poor Elizabeth just oozes back onto her little star, and I'm like, "Bitch, this is nasty. This is fucking nasty." It really was. It was a
Yeah.
deeply upsetting experience. I'm
Mhm.
so glad that I did not eat salmon avocado toast. My burger
Yeah.
stayed locked in my stomach, thank you.
That's good. That's good.
But,
That's good.
I mean, this movie, the gore to me, now you might have people at home like, "I watched Terrifier 3 3 times in the theaters. You're a fucking pussy." Too
Yeah.
bad I will not watch that clown with his tiny little chiclet teeth his little mouth shanks. I will not watch it. I do not fuck with that clown. Get him off of my internet. I hate him.
Mm,
Um, but this is like the goriest movie I've ever watched, to the point where it feels like some kind of deep underground anime or
yeah,
manga or snuff. It's too much. I loved the movie. I think I
yeah,
need a couple of months before I see it again, but
sure.
it's the most gore, and like the pulling out of the teeth and
Yeah.
just
Well, and
just
every little
ugh.
thing is in full graphic detail. They do not leave anything to the imagination, and so you get all of it from the creation of this second person to all of the body issues that come from that to then just the explosive finale. There's just so much the whole way through.
Monstrosity. It is
Yes,
a
yes, yes.
monstrosity. Again, there
Mhm.
are holes where no holes should go. You don't need a hole in your hip. You don't need one coming out of the back of your
Yeah.
knee. And Coralie Fargeat, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. We don't respect the French in America. It's our
Yeah, yeah,
tradition.
yeah. Mhm.
Um, she said, I'm going to put a hole there.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
said, bet. Okay.
Yeah.
But I was
Alright.
watching it like, oh, I wouldn't have shot blood out of that hole myself if that were me, but
You would have
thank
made
God
that
that's not
choice.
me. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have
Uh,
made that choice, but this movie is the most gory movie I have ever seen, and
okay, that's fair. I think that's
yeah,
fair. I mean, it is
there you go.
incredibly gory, and that is so exciting for somebody who loves gore like myself. Before
Yeah, good
I
for
get,
you.
yeah, before I get into my gore puzzle piece here in a second, I will just say, Akira, I'm glad you brought it up because I've actually never seen it. I've seen stills from it, and
I
like
just
it
spoiled
looks
the
in.
end for you.
Oh
Oh
no, that just sounded like nonsense to me. How am I supposed to
no.
even
Okay.
follow any of
Oh, I
that?
hope you forget it. I didn't even
Yeah.
tell you about the fucking green
I
Yoda
know
baby.
I've heard so many like stories about just how insane it is.
I
I
don't
you
like that
know,
movie, and it
yeah.
explains why Kanye West is the way that he is, because he talks about how much he loves it. The
Yeah,
man
yeah.
has seen the movie too many times, and it is possibly what got him to run for president. It
God.
explains those terrible chrome dentures he has going on, Bianca
Yeah.
Sensori's outfits. It explains a
A lot
lot
of
of
poor
it.
choices. Yeah,
Don't watch that
definitely.
movie more than like 5 times in your
Yeah.
lifetime.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
it's
fair.
I
Yeah, that's
don't
fair.
like that movie. I'm gonna get yelled at by a bunch of men who listen to this podcast. I'm
Mhm.
so sorry. I like the Coen brothers, guys. I like Tarantino.
Mhm.
Um, I like Bergman. Like, I can make it up to you, but yeah, I
Yeah.
can't fuck with the tumor baby at the end of that goddamn
Yeah.
movie. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you can't like everything. You just can't, you
I
know?
can't.
But
I
yeah.
won't even.
Well, I am going to go to Peter Jackson's Dead Alive for my next puzzle
Ooh, I
piece
haven't
here.
seen it.
Oh my god, it is so much fun, and it is his best movie as far as I'm concerned, above all the Lord of the Rings
Wow.
stuff, and, it is it is the goriest movie ever, like, it is that final scene for the whole movie, basically, it's complete insane splatter fest. There's also a scene where somebody has to glue a piece of their face on, which, reminded me a
Oh,
lot of what Demi Moore does in this, so
yes.
there's a lot of things. There's also a monstrosity character who makes their way. I mean, we don't have to go too deep into it, but just throwing that out there. That as far as someone who's a gore hound who is just into this kind of stuff and who loves Dead Alive, this movie keeps that alive. And really, in a way, you would not expect a movie like this to be in movie theaters. And it's so exciting that a movie like this was in the theaters, The Substance, this summer, because usually something like Dead Alive is a movie you only find out about like, oh, my buddy has this DVD, it's the craziest movie, you got to watch
Yes.
it, and like you don't see it at the theater, on the matinee or whatever. I have a couple of like bonus puzzle piece to a puzzle pieces. So I'm just going
Yeah.
to throw Evil Dead 2 in there as well. We all know Sam
Oh,
Raimi and the
that's
gore.
fun.
There's one specific scene though that I wanted to mention. It is when Demi Moore is really like flipping out and cooking all the food and everything, and
Yes.
she starts using the blender and it starts splattering up in her face. It's so much like Ash chainsawing his arm off,
Yeah.
and he's just
Yeah.
going nuts, and then the blood starts splattering into his face. That sequence, I was just like, this has to be an homage to that.
Okay, we could again, I talked about Mark Wahlberg pooping out Miles Teller. I would
Yeah.
also be fine with Bruce Campbell pooping out Mark Wahlberg. because
Yeah, yeah.
your girl has a big ass crush on Mr. Briscoe County Jr.
Oh,
Know
yeah.
that now.
Everybody has a big crush on Mr. Yeah, male, female, all of
Now
them.
he
Yeah,
could have
yeah.
it now. So yeah, no, I could see Bruce Campbell actually bodying this fucking role as not Elizabeth. It would be like Elwood. I don't know. We'd pick like
Yeah,
an E name. I don't know. But yes, I agree with you on that.
there you go. Right on. Well, what do you got for your next piece?
I have The Hunger.
Okay, I haven't seen The Hunger.
Oh. Do you like David Bowie's acting work?
Eh, you know,
Okay. Okay.
some. I wouldn't be like in just because Bowie's there, but like when I see Bowie, I'm like, oh, it's Bowie.
Yeah. You're like, "Oh,
So
it's Nikola Tesla, I guess?"
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, he is a vampire in The
Hmm.
Hunger. I don't wanna
Sure.
spoil too much about the movie, but I did a Substack little essay about the substance, and
Hmm.
I said that The Hunger is black latex, where this movie is like pink lycra. And
Oh,
it's again just that pursuit of youth. I was really trying to think about movies that talk about the pursuit of youth in a highly stylized way that aren't just like episodes of Bravo.
sure.
And I think The Hunger would be a good fit. You also have three great lead performances that are the tenet of the movie. The Substance really doesn't have a big cast, and they don't
No.
have a star everywhere you could put a star. Like the guy that Elizabeth went to high school with is just a guy. I didn't recognize him. It wasn't like they
Yeah.
had Richard Kind in there. I was like, oh, this actor gave a great performance, and I don't really know his work.
Yeah.
The young man that hooks Elizabeth up with the substance, and then his spoiler alert, like his older counterpart. I
Sure.
keep wanting to call them the Tethereds, even though I haven't seen
Uh,
Us, but like
Oh, that
his
was one of my pieces.
old
Yeah.
tether. Oh, I will let you take it because I haven't seen
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But like again, these are not. They didn't get M. Emmett Walsh to play
Hmm.
the old guy. I think M. Emmett Walsh is dead also, but
I think he
it's a
died like last
small
year.
contained cast. The Hunger has like Dan Hedaya before Dan Hedaya was Dan Hedaya, and he's just like
Okay.
a guy in a scene. So that movie also doesn't have a roster of stars. It just has these great three central performances, and in this one, you have Demi Moore, you have Margaret Qualley, and you have Dennis Quaid,
Yeah.
and they are carrying the movie.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And they're also just crushing the movie. All three of them are
Oh
so
my
good.
god! Like, I
So,
want every single one to be in the Oscars conversation. I
oh
really
yeah.
do.
I'm with you 100% on that. I was going to bring it up later, but I might as well jump to Us
Yeah,
because you
do
just
it.
brought it up. Yeah, I mean, as far as these alternate versions of ourselves, that like kind of the whole thing here is, remember you are one. If you are kind of
Yes.
taking them for granted, using them, and not obeying that balance, everything is going to go to shit. And that's kind of the central thing with Us, the idea of these tethered people underground, and they kind of take on the shit of the world, for us. And so, like, there is definitely a connection that you could see there. And also the very high concept sci-fi, idea of the whole thing. It just kind of works in a similar way that Us does.
That makes total sense to me. So I wanted to ask you what you thought of, and it's kind of unrelated to the puzzle pieces, but just one thing about the movie.
Hmm.
How did you think that the screenwriter did in reconciling the "you are one" concept with the day-to-day of how Elizabeth and Sue go about their lives? Because that's the only thing to me where I was like, did do they share thoughts? Do they not share thoughts? I couldn't always make up my mind on one way or the other.
So, and I think personally, and I think there's probably more than one way to read the movie, but I think personally that's part of the reason why I think this movie, it's a feminist movie as far as like the beauty standards and all that kind of stuff is going on, but I also think that this movie is looking down on these characters quite a bit, and I think they are so self-centered that they're not thinking about the other version even though they share a kind of consciousness link because they are one. I think they're even though they are the same person essentially, they are completely not thinking about their other self unless they have to.
That's interesting because I think I expected some kind of depiction of the interiority of the characters. While Demi Moore is cooking and eating all of this food, I expected maybe to hear Sue's voice,
Mhm.
or us to cut even to Sue in the room, laying prone more often. And that wasn't really happening. And that was the thing where I don't know if I would say is a plot hole, but I wasn't sure fully how the characters were interacting with each other. And I think that one 90-second scene might have given me a
Mhm.
more definitive choice, but it's very
Yeah, it's
possible that she
yeah.
didn't want that and really wanted people to debate how they
Yeah.
interacted with each other
I th
logistically.
I think so too. I think it's definitely open to interpretation, and I think, like, to my kind of interpretation, I think just the vitriol that they have for each other, like, almost immediately, just kinda speaks to that. They're like, she hates her, quote, unquote, "younger self," and the younger self hates the idea that she's ever possibly gonna be this older self, and, like, they just don't want anything to do with each other, even though that's, like, the whole point, that they have to recognize that if they're gonna do this, they have to recognize that they're one.
Yeah, this is a big Twilight Zone episode
Sure,
in
sure.
color.
Yeah.
No daddy Rod Serling, but for some people, it might be Daddy Dennis Quaid. It's not my
Yeah,
personal taste. I
sure.
would go on a date with his son. Love Jack Quaid, but yeah, no Daddy Roddy Sterling. But yeah,
Yeah,
this is, and that's. I mean, you said like Jordan Peele and us. Jordan Peele is doing a lot of what Rod Serling was coming up
of
with.
course. Yeah,
These very human sci-fi stories and
yeah.
allegories. So that
I'll
makes
throw Twilight
sense.
Zone on the list because, I mean, it really
Do
should
it.
be. It should be, but, what is your next, piece that you had in mind?
Um, I quickly, as we were talking about how they hate each other, I just wanted to throw out All About Eve. I'm not sure if that was on
Mm,
your list or not, but I mean,
it
to me,
wasn't. Yeah, I've seen other people make that mention too, and I think it's,
yeah,
definitely one that's worth bringing up.
it's like All About Eve cut over the Olivia Newton-John physical video. But that's like a half a mention. The next mention that I would do is Requiem for a Dream.
Okay.
First of all, there's a little bit of ass to ass if you think about the monster Eliza Sue at the end. So there's a
I guess it's
time.
I guess that's true, yeah. Yeah.
um, but I mean, it was a lot of the visual for me. When you talk about the, and as I wrote it, meiosis, and I put like M-EYE osis
Mhm.
in my notes,
Mm,
the way that the
nice.
eye was expanding, some of the visuals, the way that the drug is administered and visualized, I really thought it felt like Requiem for a Dream. And then also you have Ellen Burstyn. I always confuse Ellen Burstyn and Ellen Barkin's names, but it's Ellen Burstyn
Yes,
playing the
right.
mom, right? And like with the
Yeah.
chattering teeth. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it felt, I don't think it glamorized the substance. I really can't imagine that anybody leaving this movie was like, you know what? I would love to take this drug. Or even I would hope that nobody is leaving the movie thinking, I really need to go on Moonjaro after this. Like, I really hope that people were like, wow, and no offense to Margaret Qualley, who looks beautiful in this. Wow, Demi Moore is the hottest woman I've ever fucking seen right
Mhm.
now. And I maybe should just go on a macrobiotic diet, not to lose weight, but to just look like Demi Moore.
Uh-huh.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I would hope nobody is looking at this going, wow, this drug is glamorous. I wish we had this. I wish this was
Yeah.
over the counter. No.
Yeah. No, hopefully not. I think, that's basically the point, that we really
Yeah.
should
Don't
not, but, yeah.
Ho don't do it is might as
Yeah.
well be the tagline of this
Yeah.
damn movie. Ho
Get
don't
out.
do it. Oh my god.
Well, you kind of can't have this conversation of body horror without bringing up Cronenberg. So,
Yeah.
I think The Fly is the best one to go to, especially with Elisa Sue being like Brundle Fly. I mean, it's clearly an
Yes.
obvious homage. As far as somebody, taking some new technology and going too far with it, that's kind of a theme in a lot of his stuff. I also would kind of pair that with his son Brandon Cronenberg's Antiviral, his first film.
Ooh, I haven't seen that. I've only seen
It
Infinity Pool.
Yeah, Infinity Pool is so good. I love that movie. I
It's so
love all three.
weird.
It's so weird. I love
It's
all
so
three of his
weird.
movies. I'm a big Brandon Cronenberg fan. Antiviral is about a future where uh, people can get their favorite celebrities' diseases injected into themselves so they can feel it. and it's so
Like from a
disgusting.
fandom perspective, like to
Yes,
empathize with your idol.
yeah. So you can kind of
Oh,
feel what
that's
it's sick.
fascinating.
It's so sick. And Caleb Landry Jones is a star, and he, of course, he
Oh,
takes it
that's
too
sick,
far.
bitch.
He's
Oh,
so
that's
crazy, that
sick,
guy.
bitch. I shouted at him once in Brooklyn, not realizing it was him. I was like, "Baby, that suit is fucking killing it." And then he's like, "Thank you." And I'm like, "Oh my god, it's fucking Vecna. Like, run." Like I was like, "No, no, 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 no. I cannot talk to this man. No, he's terrifying."
Oh yeah,
Wait, no,
scary
that's the
person.
wrong guy. Wait, no,
Oh,
that's not him. That's Jamie Campbell Bower. Drones. I'm
oh,
thinking of Jamie Campbell Bower, who is also a terrifying three named pasty man.
sure, sure.
Um,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
I could
they're
see
all
how
fucking
I could see how you
creepy.
could get them mixed together. Yeah,
Caleb,
absolutely.
Jamie Bower, whoever the
No.
fuck you are, you're scary too.
Yeah. Monstro J Bauer. I don't know. I can't even get that out. Yeah. So lots of Cronenberg in here, of course. We couldn't have possibly done piecing it together on the substance without talking about Cronenberg. So, yeah. What do you got next?
Argento's Suspiria.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, it's in this case, it's physical Jane Fonda exercise, jazzercise instead of ballet, but the rich color hues are there, the body
Hmm.
horror is there. Um, Guadagnino's Suspiria, to be honest, is my preferred Suspiria.
Hmm. Yeah.
Let's be real
You're
honest.
you're in a safe space here.
Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
a
I don't know for
Jew.
sure if I agree, but I'm
No, I
yeah.
get you. I get you.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm a Jew. The whole complicit in the Holocaust thing hit different for Yo
Yeah.
Girl. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I do want to put like a drop of Guadagnino's in there because the piss scene from
Mm,
the new one is like
yeah.
I said to my date after this movie, like the only thing that I didn't see that I was expecting is piss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I didn't see pee pee, and
Yeah.
I thought there was gonna be a lot of like pee pee and some number twos, and
Yeah.
I
There's lots of
didn't.
grosso, but there's no pee.
I We were kind of spared like a hot deuce on that beautiful white bathroom floor, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised." That's her limit. That's Coralie, my friend
Yeah.
Coralie. We're on first name basis because I don't know
Yeah.
how to
Sure.
say her last name. We're on Coralie's limit of no
Yeah.
poopy.
Yeah.
Um,
There could have been a poop by the Hollywood Walk of Fame star. That would have fit in quite well, I
there's
think.
I think maybe there was a dog. I feel like there was a dog.
Did a
I know
dog
there was
poop?
the
Maybe.
ketchup, like the fries
Yeah.
and the ketchup fell.
That was
That
great.
disgusted me too. I
Yeah.
was so grossed out by that smear of. I was like, mm-mm,
Yeah. Yeah.
nope, I don't like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, Suspiria. You know, you're talking about that
Love it.
particularly gendered search of perfection
Hmm.
and rigorous dance. And as much as the dance scenes for Sue are gorgeous and how they're lit and filmed, you feel the physical agony that it takes to get to that ability and to look that good doing these dances. And then, of course, you see like the chicken bone moment, you know, or the chicken drumstick, and that
Yeah.
reminded me of Suspiria, like these sinister things that should not be happening, impacting the dance and impacting the movement of the dancer. So,
Sure.
Suspiria.
Right on. Yeah, absolutely. I think dance and all of this kind of horror and also just the incredible visuals of all of this. I think there's plenty of ways to connect Suspiria to this really well. So definitely good one to include. I watched Society specifically for this because it's a movie I saw a lot of people bringing up, and I definitely see why. I mean, the idea of the rich and beautiful and powerful and what they do to stay on top, and it's just a mix of horrific, gross, disgusting stuff, all coming to a head on a big, gigantic party sequence, which is all kinds of gloopy, gory grossness, like we've already talked about. But yeah, I didn't love it as much as I was hoping to. Have you ever seen Society from
I
1989?
know who directed made it.
That's Brian Usna, who Reanimator, and he was part of
Oh,
the
okay.
Reanimator team,
Okay.
and From Beyond and stuff like
Haven't
that.
seen it.
Yeah, it's definitely got the gore and it's definitely got the weirdness. I thought it was a little on the nose though, as far as story is
Okay.
concerned. So
Did you
I
think
wanted to
this
throw it in though.
was?
See, I didn't think this was at all because I thought this had so much layers to it that I thought, like I said, when we're kind of talking about the way that the two versions of the character are interacting with each other. What do they think of each? I just think that there's a lot to chew on here. While the central metaphor maybe is, an obvious thing, and I do think it's fair to say that any movie dealing with like beauty standards and stuff like that nowadays is maybe we've been having that conversation for decades already,
Yeah.
so maybe it's like a little past due or whatever. But I mean, I think it's done in such a fresh and interesting way.
Yeah, I didn't think this movie was subtle at all, and I wouldn't even say it was nuanced to me. I
It
felt
it
like
didn't
it was
need to be.
pretty straight. It didn't need to be because number one, it's a really new way to express gore and body horror. It's not a Cronenberg, all due respect to both Cronenbergs, father and
Yeah.
son. It doesn't need to be done in that visual style. It can feature women protagonists who are
Hmm.
not um the hero.
Yeah.
We can root against them. So it presented gore and body horror and that sort of women's beauty standard story in a new way, which I appreciated. Like if Sue had a change of heart, like I'd be like, fuck you. Like I don't this isn't what I want. I want these two to, you know, to make the movie happen and tear each other apart in that way. Although I
Yeah.
kind of like if it had ended differently, well, I couldn't have predicted how it ended exactly.
No.
I was not expecting that exact thing to happen.
It's one of
Uh,
those movies that you really genuinely have no clue what's happening from scene to scene. Like it just keeps getting weirder and crazier. And like we're talking about a lot of movies here that have insane shit in them, but we still don't expect it when we go to the movie theater to see a movie.
yeah, I had kind of wondered if the end was going to be her coming out with Elizabeth's, face on paper over her. And I kind of expected the audience to just start clapping and applauding, and for the message of this to just be whatever the TV sells you as beautiful is going to
Mm,
be what you consider beautiful. And I thought
interesting.
maybe
Yeah.
that was the direction she was going. And then reverse Carrie on prom night. And I was like, oh, fuck, yes, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Hell yeah. And it,
Yeah.
it worked for me. But
Yeah, no, not necessarily. And reverse carry is a extra puzzle piece, by the way, on here. But
that's
yeah,
great, as it should
yeah,
be.
yeah, for sure. Do you have any other pieces you want to bring up?
Let's see. I have a small list. Charlie's Angels 2 Full Throttle, both for
Ooh.
its excellent, exquisite use of Ms. Demetria Gynes more, but also for the visual palette. Charlie's
Mm.
Angels 2 Full Throttle, Mick G was just like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into Photoshop and just increase the color saturation to 100 and then increase the exposure to 100
Uh-huh.
and the contrast to 100 and then
Mm.
save the image and then go in and edit that image to have a contrast of 100 so it's a
Mm-hmm.
200 contrast. I
Mm-hmm.
also just really love Charlie's Angels 2 Full Throttle. It was
Hey.
my sexual awakening in the form of Justin Theroux with that little faux hawk and those tight ass pants. I still to this day, if I wear a button down shirt, I button it up to the neck because of Justin Theroux in that movie. To be real honest, I just laid that on you, David, but you know what it's
Yeah.
like to work with me on this
Yeah.
podcast by now. And
Yeah.
yeah, but I wanted to mention that. And also, if anyone here is like halfway to being high on some kind of edible, pop that movie on for Justin Theroux's accent, which is the funniest accent that has ever happened in any film.
I love
So
him so much.
there's
He's the
one
best. He's the
he,
best.
I love that man. I really
Yeah.
do. Another to me feels kind of obvious, but Love Lies Bleeding. Like what we will do to achieve the perfect form with some elements of the fantastical, with some elements of these highly tropic characters.
Mm-hmm.
You've the scene at the end of Love Lies Bleeding, like the I don't even know if you would call it a fantasy scene. I mean, I'm sure some people think it's in plot and other people think it's just like a diluted, stoned fantasy.
Sure. Yeah.
Makes a totally different movie depending, but I mean, that's the way that Rose Glass works. Saint Maud, it's the same
Absolutely.
thing. The ending
Absolutely.
is it fantasy? Is it reality? What's happening right now? And that's
Yeah.
fun. And then my friend Adam, who I would like to shout out, actually sent in some, and I feel like they are
Oh.
worth mentioning. Yeah, Adam is not like a big podcasty dude, but he suggested one of Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone episodes which
Okay. Well,
is
we mentioned Twilight Zone in passing, but
yes.
I haven't seen the Jordan Peele versions of it, but I'm sure, like we said, this is like, that kind of show. So,
He mentioned the episode Ovation from Jordan Peele's remake, which he very helpfully put as season 2, episode 4. So
okay.
I will be checking that out. And then Titane from 2021.
Yeah, I thought about Titane
I
possibly
haven't
as
seen it,
something for
so these
this.
are two that I have to see.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, that is definitely a good one to include here. I'm thank you, Adam, for the listener
Thank
puzzle
you, Adam.
pieces. Yeah, absolutely. So I've got two things that I wanted to mention that I actually haven't seen, but I just saw them mentioned in passing. I mean, the
Sure.
kind of obvious one, the picture of Dorian Gray, which is like
Yes.
the story that this is kind of doing a take on, and the idea of this picture representing herself that doesn't age, and then the other version of herself coming through. So I mean, that is something that's kind of in the culture. You see so many movies that are inspired by that. So I mean, I think it's worth mentioning. Also, a movie I was going to try to watch, but I couldn't find it anywhere. It's called The Rejuvenatrix. Have you heard about this?
I have not
It's
heard about this.
I think it's 80s, somewhere in the 80s, and it is about an aging celebrity who finds out about this mystery thing that can make a younger version of herself, and of course goes horrifically. So I think it's definitely a movie that I want to seek out and try to find and watch, because obviously it worked really well here, and I want to see how it works in that kind of a setting.
I think I just found it.
You found it to watch?
I think so. Yeah, let me pull up this. Yup, hour and a half long YouTube link.
Oh my god. Okay, send me that afterwards. I'm gonna have to watch this sometime very
Mm-hmm.
soon. It's
I
Halloween
got
coming
you.
up. Yeah.
I got
So,
you.
all right, I'm gonna have to watch it. I can't wait to see that. The last piece that I actually wanted to mention is a movie called The Dark Backward. Have you ever seen this or heard of this?
No, the title is interesting.
It is completely insane. It's from director Adam Rifkin, and stars
Oh,
Judd Nelson as a
oh,
stand-up comic who
oh,
he's terrible. He's terrible at stand-up, but then he grows an
oh,
arm out of his back.
oh. To
Yeah, and
hold
then
another microphone?
well, they could do whatever they want with it. That's the thing. The world of entertainment, including his friend who wants to be his manager, and then all these agents, they all are like, well, how could we use this guy with this arm coming out of his back? And they just want to use him for like the freak show of it. And then it's the weirdest movie. It goes in all kinds of crazy. But I mean, just the crazy shit of this, and the idea of people in show business taking advantage, and
Mm.
the just how fickle and disgusting everything in this business is. I think they're both, the substance and the dark backward, are movies that are very much dialed into just the idea of just being sick of all this shit.
This Judd Nelson character should probably just enter juggling contests because he could cheat really effectively, just
It
throwing
would-
another ball up from behind his back. I'm
yeah.
picturing, I know this is not how the movie goes, I'm sure, but I'm just picturing him on like Whose Line Is It Anyway? When they have like Ryan Stiles stand there with his arms behind his back and Colin Mockery's arms come out and they're like
Hmm.
trying to make a pizza and just like smashing food in each other's faces.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
yeah.
picturing Judd Nelson doing, but that's probably not what happens, and Greg Proops is probably not in this movie.
You have no idea how insane this movie is.
Is it like a Death to Smoochie kind of movie?
You know what? That's
Like Monkey
literally
Bone? Is that the
that's the
tone?
tone. That is the
Okay.
tone. Bill Paxton is a complete madman in this movie, and
Oh,
yeah,
okay. It just
please
moved
watch
way up
this.
on my list now. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
scared, but it moved
yeah.
way up on my list.
You'll love it. I think. I think you will definitely enjoy it. So we talked about a lot of stuff. I'm not going to read down this list because it is quite long. But let's get into some closing thoughts. Anything you want to mention that we didn't quite get to?
Do you think that the actual portrait of Elizabeth, do you feel that it is totemic or it's talismanic, and that when the portrait is shattered, do you feel that that actually contributes to her downfall, or do you think it's just an homage?
Yeah, that is really. That's a good question, and I mean, it's like not as a cop out, but I mean, it is just so open to interpretation because it totally can be the catalyst for everything really finally going off the deep end. But at the same time, yeah, I don't know. It's I think this is a movie that uh, it has some big crazy ideas, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like it can be or it cannot be, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if it is. I didn't as I was watching it, I wasn't really thinking about Dorian Gray at all. I kind of weirdly was looking at the portrait more as the eyes of Dr. Eckelberg, like a Great
Mm,
Gatsby kind of. You have the billboard on one side, you have her on the
sure.
other side. At times, they are looking at each other in
Yeah.
conversation. Um, so I was thinking more about that as the visual allegory here, but I do realize that once she cuts her head out of the photo of Elizabeth and brings it to the show, that
It's kinda all
eventually
gone
that's
at
when
that
the
point.
blood
Yeah.
but that's also when the blood shoots out of her, so it's like, did she sever something by cutting
Mm,
off her head out of the portrait? And that could be almost like an Easter egg thing, because I don't think that's the text of the movie, but it
sure,
is
sure.
interesting, and it is another way to read the movie.
I like that, I like that. Yeah, I don't know, I mean, I think there's so much to this movie. I also love the score. I love the visual effects of, like, the assume a mix of practical and,
Yeah.
VFX, but, just the way that all this gore that we've been talking about is done, there's just so much to love about this. It's definitely one of my favorites of the year.
What did you think about the shining carpet in the hallway? Did you think it
Yeah,
had any meaning or just a cute little Easter egg?
I think it was more of an Easter egg, but I mean, I think that, there's certainly, the idea of somebody unraveling and their surroundings kind of contributing to that could be kind of bought into.
I also thought maybe it was depicting the hallway, the carpet, and the idea of twins, the idea of doubles. And
Mm,
that cut up, because the rug is cut up. It's not the exact, it's like if you bifurcated the pattern. So I was like, is this another reminder of the we are one, but we are
yeah.
twins, we are two, we are double? I thought it was a kind of a cute visual cue, but I don't think it's anything in the text of the movie. I think it was a visual choice for fans of horror and thrillers, but I did think it was a reminder each time of there are two people walking down this hallway. There are two people that are on the posters in the hallway, even if you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
see one.
Absolutely. Have you seen Revenge, Coralie's other film?
No,
Neither of us can say her last name.
obviously, I would happily watch it now. I
Yeah.
mean, I really am fascinated by her work and I want to see what she does next. But I
Yeah,
had
I'm
this was the
super
first again, you got Demi Moore. There's some directors where, oh, if I hear this person has a movie out, I'm seated no matter what.
sure.
But this was oh, Demi Moore is gonna be parading around in a little lycra onesie. Yeah, my
Mhm.
gay ass is seated, thank you ever so much. Um,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
much as
absolutely.
I love Dennis Quaid's hot son, yeah,
Mhm.
I was very much here for Demi Moore in this moment.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Tara, is there another movie you watched recently you wanna recommend to our listeners?
Oh my god, actually, Woman of the Hour, the Anna Kendrick movie on
Yeah.
Netflix.
Okay, yeah, I still haven't seen it.
The basic plot line, and this isn't really a spoiler, it's how it's being marketed, is Rodney Alcala was a serial killer and predator, and he wound up appearing on an episode of The Dating Game, the
Yeah.
70s, Bachelor Number One TV show. And this is Anna Kendrick's first movie that she's directing. I think she took the true crime genre and had some very sensitive cues that really came from women. There's a small scene, and it's not a spoiler, but there's a scene where you see her character shake her head to the waitress, and the
Mhm.
waitress covers for her and says, "Oh, we're closing." And it is something that a woman would put in a movie that a man would not think to put in a movie. That gesture of
Mhm.
women looking out for each other, and there were touches like that that I said, "Wow, this feels different. This does not feel like a Lifetime movie, although
Yeah.
it doesn't seem super high budget, but
Yeah, yeah.
it really I thought was a great directorial effort, and I'm excited to see what she does next. But I've read some interviews about it, and she really came from a place of using anger for good.
Mm,
And you
yeah,
feel that in this movie, you feel that it's fucked up that people weren't believed when they came forward about this guy, or they had off feelings about any man that maybe was pursuing a woman. But yeah, I was actually pretty impressed, especially again for
right on.
something kind of low budget. It didn't have a ton of stars. She's far and away the biggest. I mean, unless you really love You Made It Weird with Pete Holmes. Like, unless that you at home is your shit and you're like, "Oh my god, Pete Holmes is in this? I love
Yeah,
Pete
yeah.
Holmes. I love when he talks about Ram Dass." Unless
Mm,
that's your shit, like, it's not a big movie in that way.
yeah.
Uh, but I think she did something really interesting with true crime, and I found myself quite invested in the story, so I'm giving her a thumbs up.
Yeah, I want to see it. I always like Anna Kendrick, and exciting that she's doing, directing. And it's crazy that this is a story that hasn't been made into a
I
movie because it
know,
just seems so ripe for it,
I
right?
didn't know about this story, and kind of blessedly, I mean, again, not that any part of this is good, but I didn't know how it was going to end. I didn't know which
Yeah,
characters were going to get away. I didn't know how she was going to interact with the guy who was on the dating game with her. I really got to hear a new story that nothing had been spoiled for me.
yeah,
And yeah, and again,
yeah.
I really really recommended it.
Right on, right on. Well, Tara, where can
Thank you.
people find you and everything you're up to?
Sure. If I haven't annoyed the shit out of all of you at home, you can find me on Twitter because I will never call it X. Sorry to dead name, but this is the one time I'm fucking dead naming. You're taking
Mm-hmm.
Twitter out of my cold dead claws. I am
Mm-hmm.
there at Sweaty Lamarr, also on Instagram at Sweaty Lamarr. I have written about the substance on my Substack, which is my pride and joy. And you can check that out at taragiancaspro.substack.com. I do pop culture reviews. I do personal essays. I share photos of my beautiful cat children. And yeah, I'm really proud of it. And I'm actually really proud of the piece on the substance I wrote. So if you want to read more, that's the one to check out.
I'll make sure to include a link directly to that one
Thanks, bud.
on the show notes. And thank you so much for joining me again, Tara. It was great getting you back, and hopefully we'll get you back again sometime.
Thank you.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation about the substance. Thank you so much to Tara Giancaspro for joining me on that one, and thank you to all of you for listening. If you're enjoying piecing it together, make sure you are subscribed wherever it is that you're listening right now. You could also drop us a 5-star rating and review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Pocket Casts, a whole bunch of the other apps too. It helps make sure that more people check out the show, and it would be very much appreciated if you did that. You could also follow me on social media at Piecing Pod, join the Facebook group Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, and do not forget, we have a Patreon, the Produced by David Rosen Patreon, where I post bonus and advanced content from Piecing It Together, including sometimes video versions of episodes. Also stuff from Awesome Movie Year. We do a bonus episode every season from Awesome Movie Year, and stuff from my music career, which quite frankly, there hasn't been in a little while because I've been so busy. But I have a bunch of stuff ready to go. It's just a matter of posting it, and that's going to happen very soon. So expect a bunch more exclusive music stuff on the Patreon. If you want to support the show, you could do that over at patreon.com/bydavidrosen. So I'm going to close this out with a piece of music like I always do. And at first, I was going to go with something a little darker, more horror themed. I do a lot of that stuff for film scores and all that. And it is Halloween when I'm putting this episode out. But, I've been promoting the Pup Pups album, my new album of songs about my pets. And the substance being all about being your prettiest self, even if that destroys you. I'm going to play a song about my cat Trudy and about how pretty she is. It's a song called Litter and Glitter, and it's from the Pup Pups album, A Boy and His Dog and Three Cats and a Bear. Still available for pre-order, even though our big pre-order special bonus thing has ended now. But the album will be out December 6th. We got a lot more coming from that. I'll be posting a commentary track special episode soon. I got music videos on the way. Whole bunch of stuff coming from this new album from the Pup Pups. I love this album so much. I'm so proud of it. And it just makes me laugh and smile, especially this song because it is just so ridiculous. So this is Litter and Glitter, all about my cat Trudy, who thinks she is the prettiest thing in the world. And she's got some issues, that Trudy. But hope you enjoy it. We'll be back with more Piecing It Together real soon.
She sits and stares, looking like a model with a beautiful hair. She's looking at me and nothing more. Sparkles all around her on the floor. She leaves a trail of glitter and glitter everywhere that she goes. Oh yes, I love that girl. She's so beautiful, she's so pretty. I'm so pretty. She's so pretty. I'm so pretty. She leaves a trail of glitter. So beautiful, she's so pretty. I'm so pretty. She's so pretty. I'm so pretty. Just look at those eyes as they're looking at me. She's a beautiful girl. She is so pretty, like an angel or a devil, something in between. I try to grab her, but she runs and screams. She leaves a trail of glitter and glitter everywhere that she goes. Oh yes, I love that girl. She's so beautiful, she's so pretty. I'm so pretty. She's so pretty. I'm so pretty. She leaves a trail of glitter and glitter everywhere that she goes. Oh yeah, I love that girl. She's so beautiful, she's so pretty. I'm so pretty. She's so pretty. I'm so pretty. She leaves a trail of glitter and glitter everywhere that she goes. Oh yes, I love that girl. She's so beautiful, she's so pretty. I'm so pretty. She's so pretty. I'm so pretty. I leave a trail of glitter and glitter everywhere that I go. When mommy and daddy say I'm just so beautiful, it's so funny and pretty and special and better than my sisters because they're stupid and I'm perfect and everybody loves me because I'm pretty.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.